Alright, so I went ahead and I just wanted to test the fitment of the JL Audio W3 B3 into this ground shaker box. It is a ported box. It fit perfect, so I'm not gonna have to do any cutting or anything like that around the outside. So that's good news. Let's see if I can show you guys this way. Really fits in there perfect. I'm gonna get that wired up and then I'll get it all mounted in. It's gonna be a single voice coil, so there's really only a positive and a negative at the bottom. It's not a dual voice coil, so it's gonna be super easy just running it straight into the box. Okay, so the first thing, I'm getting this speaker mounted in here. I used Amazon Basics 12 gauge. It's actually a really good wire. I got female connectors, heat shrinked on there. They're weather protected. They're gonna be right on there. And then the other side I'm gonna leave open, and then you're just gonna connect in there. And then I'm gonna get these screws in and mount it into the box. All right, so let's look at this amp for a second. This is a Rockville RXD M1, 2000 watts, peak power. But what you wanna look at is RMS. And when you open it, it's pretty cool. They give their own little rated power test. And if you look at 4 ohms, which is what this speaker is rated for, it's only 254. Now the RMS for this speaker is at 300 on the low end, and then the max is 600. So this amp should be good for this setup for this speaker. Yeah, I know it says 2000 watts as a max, but those numbers are usually inflated and a little different. Depends on the ohms and stuff. So this is what you get. It's like the size of my hand, really. This one's pretty small. Comes with the usual stuff, gain. And then this is the other one. This is the 4-channel amp, and like this says 3200 watts. It's usually just that's not real numbers. What you get on the 4-channel, I like that they include this and that they're being honest about what their amps are actually putting out. So it's 141 watts to each channel RMS at 4 ohms. And if you bump up the ohms to 2, you get a little bit more juice. Now what I did is I got JL Audio components. And you can look up the specs on that, or maybe I'll just put it in the corner or something on the video. 6x9s for the front door. The rear are 5 and 2.5, yeah, 5 1/4, and then those are the tweeters. And I'm not gonna run the tweeters into the amp. It's just gonna be the door speakers. So this will just be plugged into the factory deck and just running it that way with some crossovers. Then we got the Roadkill fast ring for the 6x9s. Got fast rings for the 5 1/4. Now, I like the Stinger 4-gauge amp kit. This is a 4-gauge amp kit that you actually get with the amp, so it's a really good deal. And of course, some Stinger RCAs, line output converter, distribution block, and Dynamat. And my box, that box that you saw over here, is a ground shaker box. And I had a ground shaker box a while ago, and it sounded really good. Construction was really good. This one does have a port right here. It's hard to see on the camera. Okay, there you can kind of see it. So it is ported. It's supposed to be tuned down to, I believe, 36 hertz. So we'll see. Now I'm going to move on to taking apart the inside and probably start at the front doors. Or actually, maybe the tweeters. I'll start at the tweeters, start taking apart the inside and getting the door speakers in. So this piece supposedly just pops out, but there is weather stripping there. Don't really want to mess up that. So I used the tool, and it should just be able to pop out, hopefully without breaking. Really feels like it's breaking. So there's some connectors on the back side of this, and there's supposed to be a 7mm hiding somewhere. Okay. All right, so there's some connectors here. I don't know if you can get in there to see that. I don't want to scrape my hand into it, but there's some connectors. I'm going to disconnect those, and then should be able to get this thing completely off. All right, so once you pop those clips off, it looks like there's like a bungee. Let me get a light in there. There's like a bungee holding it. After you disconnect that quick connector, there's only that one, I think, is for the Bluetooth. It's I don't know, I think I might have to cut those little bungees. It's already held in by the clips. All right, so that's not working out. I'm gonna have to use these, and I already cut one hole right here, and I'm just gonna sneak the bungee out. There's one here, and then there's one right here. I'm gonna make that cut and then just sneak the bungee out and then put it back in when it's time to install. Things a pain. So that worked. I already made my cuts right here and right, oh, it's there, right there. So I'll be able to get that bungee back in there, and I don't have to mess around with that. And it was like literally 2 seconds with these, just one little slice, and it popped right out, no problem. But when you look at it down here, it's like these little connectors with the bungees, so you can't really do anything with that other than what I did, really, or take the clips out. Now I took out the 7mm, and this whole piece comes out, and then bam, you got your tweeter, and those also should be 7mm. Let me just double check for you guys. Yep, 7mm. Another thing, you to get your 7mm in there, this doesn't really fit because it's such a small space. So you really have to use an open-ended wrench or the close-end side to get to that 7 and get that off. This one, not too bad. That one near the window, a pain. All right, so I got those two off. Here comes the tweeter. I haven't pulled it off yet. It's kind of difficult to do one hand, but there's not really much room in there. Sneak this guy out, and then there's your tweeter. This is a non-Bose system. Disconnect that, and I have crossovers, the gel audio crossover to install. That's gonna all get tucked in there. And then this is the 1-inch dome gel audio tweeter that's gonna go in there. I'm gonna have to figure out a way to mount it inside of there so it fits the housing. So here's what I came up with. It's in there super tight. This is the stock one that you saw me pull out, and it's really in there snug. It's not gonna go anywhere. It had some stuff mounted on the side of it, probably a stock crossover. It just fell off my lap. Had it right here. Just want to show you guys what comes off of this thing. Where'd you fall? Okay, I got it. All right, so this was connected, and really I just used the needle nose, and I just pulled all this off without really breaking anything, so it just came off real clean. And then I ran my wires that came with the tweeter right in that little slot right there, and it's really a good fit. And then it's mounted and everything, and it'll just go right into that spot where it was without really having to mess around too much. And yeah, I ripped out all the insides of the tweeter to get my gel audio tweeter to fit in there. So that's what it looks like. Got it all connected, and I dropped the 7mm inside there, so I'm still working on trying to get that out. Car ate it. The door panel, to take off the door panel, there's a little spot right here. This pops out, and then this whole piece is just clips that'll pop out. And then there is a 7mm right here, and then you start undoing the door clips from the bottom using one of these guys, little trim piece remover. And then at the very top of the door, you're gonna lift up to get it off, and there's no, not on this side. There's not gonna be anything on the other side. At the end of the door, right here, there's some clips. There's gonna be 3. When you lift this out of the way, there's gonna be like 1 inside there. So that's how you're gonna remove the door panel. All right, so I just took the little piece that pops out there. That was really easy. And then this piece, I started to lift. I always get nervous about these clips. All right, yes, nothing broke. All right, so that piece is off. There is a 7 mil here. There's a screw. Where's the 7 mil? Oh, 7 mil is in here. So in here. So 1, 2, and 3. And then after that, you should start lifting the clips. And then those 2 clips on the back side of the door panel. And there's the sneaky one, the 3rd, and then pop it all off. All right, so I got those 3 bolts out. These little clips here should pop out pretty easy. Okay, and then the door clips. I don't feel any right here. This is my first time taking off the door panel, so I'm not like an expert, so hopefully nothing breaks. These stupid clips sometimes want to just stay in there and break on them. There it goes. So now there should be able to lift up on this. My molding is coming off with the door panel, which I don't really want to happen here. It's not that big a deal. You don't want it to rip though. This is not the easiest thing in the world. Alright, so there's the third little clip in here. Trying to pop it out and then not lose it, so if you're wondering why I'm holding it that way. This whole thing wants to come with it, so I guess I'll just take it with it. sounded like that one broke, but I think it just popped out. Hopefully. Alright. Disconnecting this stuff inside of the door. I don't know if you can really see in there. Yeah, I'll move it in here. Move all those clips. There's only like, what, 1, 2, 3 little things to remove in there. And then you're good to go and get to that speaker. Alright, so I have to give GM credit here. They do a pretty good job of blocking off everything acoustically. There's really no big gaping holes or anything like that. So I had a bunch of Dynomat and I wanted Dynomat the door, but they did a pretty good job of blocking everything off. This is like a thick rubber through here, and I'm sure that does a pretty good job of blocking out any kind of sound that could leak through there. So I'm just gonna take the speaker off and see what it is on the back side, and then I might just Dynomat the inside of the door around where the speaker is, and then leave it at that. And then maybe I can find some other places to use the Dynomat, because I said Dynomat, it's Dynomat. There's two 7mm to get this off. Door speaker. I left the mechanism to open the door, lock and unlock and whatever, because it wasn't a real quick connect. So there's one. It's definitely worth having somebody, if you don't have the time or whatever, just paying to have this done, because it's a real pain. And in between there, I put all the clips that were left in the door, I put them back in the door panel, and I found the other clip that fell down and reset them back where they belong. I think there's one more that is inside of the door panel that I got set up. So just the two 7mm. And what it looked like is that it should come out. I don't know if they sealed it. Yeah, they sealed it in there. Okay, so yeah, it looks like I'll probably just Dynomat. I always want to say Dyno. It's Dynomat the inside of the door panel. Get rid of this guy. Should be just a connector. See, from the factory, they do a really good job of making a pretty crappy speaker sound really good with the enclosures that they build around them. But it just wasn't enough for me. I needed some more bass, a little louder. Here's the plan. Here's the fast connector, or fast like foam stuff. There's 3 pieces. The first piece goes in the inside, right in here, and it just sticks on there. And then the second piece is gonna go like right on the back part of the speaker. And then the final piece is gonna be like on the top of the speaker. There'll be some foam around the outside. And I also noticed when it's in there, there's like a gap on the top. There's gonna be a gap, and there's gonna be a gap right there. So that's where I'll probably use the Dynomat, and I'll just kind of put a strip there, so it just makes a nice seal. And I'm also gonna Dynomat in the inside of the door, probably just around the speaker where the speaker would go. And I'll show you guys what that looks like when it's done. So the game plan changed a little bit. I took off that door skin, and it turned out there was not really much going on behind it. So I'm gonna Dynomat the entire door, cover all these holes, this big hole especially, and then the weather guards, the strip thing or whatever is gonna go on top of it. So I figured while I have it all apart, might as well do it right. Nah, I mean. All right, so here's the door Dynomated. That took forever. The inside Dynomated. Got the fast foam in the inside here. Got my speaker set up with the fast foam. Did my connectors into the speaker here. And I drilled my holes because this doesn't line up with the factory ones. And let's see how the fitment goes. All right, speaker is connected with the fast foam, dynamatted all the way through door. But I'm not gonna put the door together until I make sure that the speaker is working properly. I didn't splice it into the factory line. I just ran positive and negative through. I cut a little hole right here in a bushing and up there, and I'm gonna be covering that up with some black, either Tessa tape or some rubberized like black tape to make it look a little better. And then running the speaker wires all the way to the back where the amp's gonna be. Okay, so the lighting back here is pretty terrible. I'm in the back seat. I didn't see any videos on how to remove this back speaker right here. So it kind of looks like it's just gonna all be clips. And hopefully I'll just be careful. I popped that off right there where the seatbelt cover is right there. We'll see if it's all clips or if I break anything. So I'll let you know if it was pretty easy, but I'm going to be tapping into the rear speakers to run the line output converter so I can get my amps going. Okay, so far you lift up on these clips here, they go straight up, and then the rest of them are so far pulling out towards you. That there's like an airbag cover right here, and there's a 7mm I took out, and then this whole piece comes off. And then you get this guy back here. There's a seatbelt cover that just pops off, and there's a 7mm there. I folded down the seat. I'm actually sitting on it right now. And it exposes a clip right there, a push clip that you just pop out. So that's where I'm at so far. Things are going pretty easy. It's just popping out with clips mostly. But that's a push clip. And then I exposed those two 7mm. Because I'm just going to take the whole panel off. I'm also going to take off the rear lid and dynamite back there so I don't get any rattling. That should be fairly easy once you get all this side stuff off, because it's just push clips, and then it should just lift up to get the clips off. Okay, so it looks like I'm fighting with the seats a little bit. I'm just going to remove them. It looks like right here, when you bend the seat all the way down, you literally just lift up on that on both sides. And then the top part of the seat, this guy, that should come off. And then the bottom part, you just lift up. There's a tab right here in the center on both sides. And then that should just pull up also. So I'm going to take those out so I'm not fighting with them to get this panel off, because it seems like the seats are a little bit in the way. Alright, so here's where I'm at. I took off this top piece. Like I said, it was just those two 7mm and the clips, and it just pops off. They did change this in I think the 5th gen Camaros. That harness used to be connected to that piece, no longer. And then this whole side panel pops off, and then you got your speaker. Where are you, guy? There it is. So after I take this panel completely off, I'll get to that speaker, and then I'll pop these rivets off the rest of the way and do the same thing for the other side so I can dynamat this trunk lid, because I feel like that's going to be doing some rattling right here. So that's what's next. Alright, so I didn't want to remove the seat belts, and I wanted to just sneak out the side panel. I was like pulling on it, and I was like, what the heck, man? It was caught on something. And the speaker connector is right here. So you got to disconnect that speaker before you can take out that whole side panel. And the speaker is connected right to the back of that rear side or whatever. So I'm just going to replace the speaker right here. Get my own custom mounting action going on. And in here, it looks like there's already sound deadening right here. So they did a pretty good job with that. I don't think I'm going to do anything with that. I'm going to leave that. And I'll probably just Dynamat that deck lid. The rear speaker is, I used a Dremel and I cut out the old speaker basically, and I kept the housing. And then I drilled, I used that Dremel right there with a little cookie or whatever you want to call it, little cutter tool. And made a pretty decent fit there. It fits like just like the stock one really. And so now it can line up with those stock brackets because the speaker was just like a little off. And I'm gonna put the fast rings on there on the back side, and I'm at like a bad angle. It's hard to do with one hand, but it fits in there perfect. And that's where the speaker is gonna be mounting right back where the stock one was. So I have the speaker all mounted in the stock location. I got the fast rings on. It's not totally sealed because you got to run the wire through, and there's a little gap here, but it's going to be a lot better than nothing back there. So it should sound way better with the fast rings on there, directing the sounds inside of the car instead of rattling around in the back. So give you a quick update where I'm at. I have I tapped into the rears for signal for the line output converter. I'm going to be running the wires to the trunk underneath everything, nice and clean. I took the rear lid off. I'm going to Dynamat that. That just popped off really easy. It's just little push clips. Back here, taking this all apart, there's like 4 clips here. There's 1, little push clips, 2, up in the top right. Where are you, guy? There you go, 3. And then the same thing on the other side. Up, there's 4. And then these 2 right here. So a total of 6 to take off the side paneling to get to the battery. So I'm working on the trunk area now, and then gonna figure out a spot to put the amps. So I ran some Dynamat in the trunk right here, and then on the top part right there. Mine does not have the rear deck lid speakers, so I just sealed that off with some Dynamat. I was contemplating doing this. There's like an area over here. I think I might put a couple sheets in there just to prevent some road noise and vibrations. I have most of the wires ran back here. That's from the front speakers and tapping into the rears for the line output converter. Now I'm gonna be putting in the back corner speakers and putting the panel back on that door, and it looks like I'm gonna have to do some trimming after the panel's on there. I did the other panel already and trimmed it out. So this one's already Dynamatted, speakers installed, came out pretty clean. There's like no vibration. It's really solid. Did the same thing with the tweeter that I showed you on the other side, except for this side, there's a 7mm right here, and then this whole long piece pops up with clips. And also this piece, the same thing on the other side, pops down, and there's like a clip and bungees holding it. The side just pops off with clips, and then the carpet, there's like a push clip here, and there's a push clip back here. It's underneath the weather stripping. So I'm gonna put this all back together and then start working on the back. All right, so I got this side all together, kick panel. Like I said, I was working on the back, but you gotta put the deck lid back on before you put the rear side like panel things on. So you gotta snap that guy in first, and then the upper parts that hold like the seat belts in place, those are gonna have to go in like, I think before the speakers. I was debating on Dynamatting this, but I knocked on it. It's pretty solid, and it's not thick, or I'm sorry, thin. So it's not real thin. I don't think it's gonna make much noise. So putting this door back together, got that weather stripping over it, and then I'm gonna put the door panel back on, and then trim the Dynamat that sticks out, which from the looks of it, I think it's gonna stick out a little bit. So I'm gonna have to do some peeling. All right, so I wanted to show you guys the back when I'm running these wires. This is the back passenger side, and this wire goes up to the speaker, but I kind of zip tied it along the way so there's no loose wires. So that's what I'm working on in the back right now, getting these wires all tied up so it's nice and clean and no vibrations or loose wires anywhere. All right, all back together. I scratched this a little bit. Hopefully I can just like use a little cleaner. I don't know, it looks like scratched. All back together. If you are debating on trying to do this yourself or paying to have someone do it, pay to have someone do it. This is a pain, guys. I just hooked up the battery, the 4 gauge, ran all the 4 gauge. I did modify this right here just so it can exit out of the side. This kind of goes on there. And the 4 gauge will be able to fit through there with the other power wire I'm running. Let's see, ground. I grounded it back there. You can see it. It's the stinger. And then cut a hole through here so it's gonna be real clean, just exiting right there. I have a second line out converter, and I mounted it on the back side right here. Oh, it's gonna be mounted there, right here. Kind of looks like a mess right now until I clean up wires, but I ran that through there. I'm gonna clean that up with some test tape, and I'm gonna use the remote for the line out. This line out converter has a remote, so you hook it all up, and I'm basically just using that line out converter to just run the remote. So all that work for that line out converter to run the remote, and I'm gonna be running the line out converter right here, and that's gonna have a remote in, remote out, and hopefully my idea works. I dynamatted some more back here on the trunk. All right, so completing this project took a lot longer than I anticipated. Just everything was taking longer than I wanted it to. This is what it finally looks like on the amp rack, all mounted in and stuff, except for the wires over here. I finally got some test tape that came in the mail yesterday. I got everything mounted up, got a grill for the subwoofer. And something to keep in mind if you're thinking of doing this to your Camaro, under here there's a plug that you have to unplug basically if you're gonna have this set up, to not have your subwoofer go all crazy. There's like a black plug that clips into the factory amp if you don't have the Bose. There's 3 clips. There's like a green one in the middle, and then there's a black one on either side. The one that's closest to the trunk, you unplug that, and that takes care of all the issues that you would have, because the car has the exhaust, like the exhaust notes running through the speakers, and like it'll sound perfectly fine if the car's not running, but then when you turn the car on, you go for a ride and you turn the music on, like the subwoofer is just like going nuts. And I was like, man, what is going on? So I finally figured that out. So that's something to keep in mind. Hopefully this video helps some people out there that are searching for ways to take off interior pieces, and some helpful tips on installing your own stereo equipment in your 2019 or 6th gen Camaro. Have a good one, and I will see you in the next vid.